Okay, so I want to show you guys how to make a really simple, basic Topsy Turvy. They always look much harder than they actually are. So first, I bake 2 layers of cake. These are 2 8-inch rounds. And especially if I'm going to be cutting a cake or carving it, I like to have it refrigerate overnight. So these are nice and cool, and I just unwrapped this one. This one I did a dam and a filling. And then what we're going to actually do with the top one, we're going to take a knife. It's not serrated. I'm not a knife expert. All I know is don't use serrated. Okay, and we're actually going to cut down diagonal through the cake. I don't like to cut corner to corner, and I'll show you why. Because when you flip it over onto the cake, all of your dam and filling isn't going to be covered well. So I'm going to cut it. Hopefully you can see me cut it. So I start at the corner and I work my way almost to the other corner. And what's really nice is it does not have to be absolutely perfect. Okay, so just ignore this whole section right here. That was a big whoop. Anyway, so what I did was I took the piece and flipped it over, and you can see we have a diagonal piece down here, and if you look, we have a diagonal piece up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an icing layer on this one. I don't like to do 2 fillings because then you have a lot of filling and frosting in this really thin section. But as you can see, if you'd cut clear through the edge, you would have nothing or very little at all covering this dam and filling. So I'm going to do a frosting layer, and then I'll show you how to put the top one on. So as you can see, I just did a really thin layer. This is mostly just creating a glue to keep the top layer together. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to flip this cake over the end of this. And it's really important that you match your thick end with your thick end, and the thin end with the thin end. And that's going to give you a really sweet diagonal. So I'll put it on there and I'll show you how it looks.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky.
Okay, so I cut out, you can see I hollowed it out, did my best to make it even. What's really cool is from the side, still totally topsy-turvy. So what you want to do is crumb coat and dowel, and let me just show you. We're going to stack the 6-inch tier on here, and then we're ready. We're going to set it in, and it fits beautifully. And that way your next layer is standing flat, only this one will slope upwards that way and down towards the other slant. It looks pretty cool. I also want to note, remember I just applied frosting between the top 2 layers, and this is why, because sometimes when you get into carving, you're going to actually get parts where you get down into there, and if that was filling, it's messy and it creates more weakness within your cake layers. We want this to be very, very, very strong, and that's why doing it when it's chilled really helps prevent a lot of cracking. This is not the prettiest cake, but I will crumb coat it and let you see how it looks. Thanks. So what I did is I just did a nice dam of frosting, just a layer of frosting on that cutout section, and I doweled it, and then I set the top tier on top. I really like doing, especially with buttercream, frosting with it stacked. There's just so much manipulation when you're putting it together that I end up having to pretty much refrost it anyway. Now with fondant, totally opposite. You have to frost and cover with fondant first, but fondant is much more forgiving than buttercream. So a little bit unorthodox, but it's what works for me. So I'm going to frost it, and then I will show you how it looks. Okay, so I frosted the bottom tier. I'm going to let it crust and then do my Viva paper towel method, which you can see in my evolution of a wedding cake. And while this buttercream crusts, I'm going to do the top tier in brown, and then we just Viva the whole thing and it works great. Okay, so here we have the finished cake. What I did is I just Viva paper toweled it, decorated it. It's nothing super fancy, something anybody can really do at home. My point is to just show you a really simple, easy way to do it. And check out my homemade cake stand. Awesome, because every cake needs a cake stand. If you're wondering how I did that, check out my video on do-it-yourself cake stand. Otherwise, just a really simple 2-tier Topsy Turvy cake. Thanks.